So another Q&A here. We have John, and John asks, what are some fundamental differences between raw and equipped training methodologies? So John, I'll list three. So number one is the technique. So my technique is slightly different on the lifts as opposed to raw. So let me give you a quick example. So for squat, I have to place the bar a little higher on my back due to the squat suit straps. So again, that helps me maintain a more upright position, but I don't necessarily have to do that for raw. So that's a small technique change. And for example, for deadlift, I breathe differently so I can load the suit properly for the deadlift. So I can't grasp as much air in the crouch position as opposed to raw. So as far as deadlift, the technique is different as far as breathing goes. And for bench, you just have to be more cognizant of keeping tight because you're handling weight that you can't quote unquote naturally handle. So your technique and just your overall concentration has to be a lot higher when you're dealing with equipped lifting. So that's number one. Your technique will change slightly, due to the fact that you're wearing a very tight polyester suit or a shirt. So your body may be pulled in different ways, and it'll be pinched and whatnot. So I mean, there's different. It's just a different kind of, I guess, concentration, slightly different technique as far as when you have full equipment on. So again, it'll pull your body in different directions, and again, it's just a completely different feeling when you're competing equipped. Sorry, when you're training equipped versus training raw. So that's number one. So number two is you have to be more mindful of your volume and your intensity and your tonnage. So because you're handling weight that you can't handle raw, you really have to manage your intensity and your volume well. So that's why I always do a carefully periodized plan when I'm training for an equipped meet, because you don't want to overextend yourself, because it won't be productive for you if you're really grinding out a lot of reps. I mean, this is in general, but especially when you're trying to grind out a lot of reps in the equipped lifting. So that's another consideration that you have to take into account. You have to really manage your intensity and your volume very carefully when you're doing the equipped lifting, again, because you're handling weight that you can't handle raw. And number three is you're more likely to miss an equipped lift due to technique as opposed to strength, because if you have to, when you're training in the equipment, when you're doing reps in the equipment, you have to be extremely precise. It's really, especially in the case of the bencher, because I mean, you can miss a bench repetition just because your technique was off, as far as you're not bringing the bar down in an exact path, or you're not keeping the bar in an exact straight line, because once it happens, the equipment will collapse on itself. So what that means is you lose all the support from the shirt if you're not within the certain bar path. So that's the third consideration. You're more likely to miss a rep, especially on the bench press, due to technique as opposed to strength. Because when you're lifting raw, then it's all on you, because you're not relying on a certain piece of equipment to help you, to assist you in lifting the weight. So I mean, there's less variability in raw as opposed to equipped. So just to recap, number one, your technique is going to be different. So you're probably not going to want to use the same technique raw as equipped, again, just because you have another variable of having a very tight polyester suit or shirt on. So again, technique will be slightly different, most likely in most cases. Number two, you have to really consider you have considerations in the volume, intensity, and tonnage for the lifting. For lifting equipped, again, you just have to be more careful because you're handling weight that your body can't handle naturally raw. So it's important not to overextend yourself. And number three is you really have to hone your technique in the equipped lifting, because most likely, especially again in the bench shirt, you're more likely to miss rep due to technique as opposed to strength. So gear it just adds a extra layer of concentration and technique. That's why a lot of equipped lifters, they gravitate toward it, because it's not easy. And like I mentioned before in a previous Q&A, that it really is an equalizer for genetics or people that aren't as genetically gifted, because they can master the equipment and they can make up ground as far as using the equipment. So hopefully that explains a little bit. So that's it, and thanks for watching.